I'll do that one. Hello everybody! Today we are draping another corset pattern and I'm going to be doing, oh, if you can see it, this one. So this is the Mina. There we go. So this is what I'm going to be working on today. So yeah, so this one here, we can see the outline we've got here. We're going to be draping. See this lovely little, very soft, sweetheart line just along the top here. It's fairly straight. We've got a little bit of a point. So you've got a little tiny bit of a point right down there. I'm thinking about adding that in. I'm not sure yet. And then we've got multiple panels along here, and it's just going to be a very simple little bodice. So this is going to be sitting on the waist. So this is what we're going to be working on today. So let's get this draped. All right. So the draping tools we have today is my little magnetic pin holder. I've switched over my typical glass head pins, which is these usual ones that I would usually have. They're just not quite strong enough. So these are actually stretch pins, and I love using them, and they're very sharp. But when working on draping on a mannequin, I think I would prefer to use something a little bit stronger. So I have some dressmaking pins from Birch. Hang on. Sorry, I got to do something with the live. There we go. Okay, we're back again. So I'm going to be using these dressmaker's pins from Birch. Now they're fairly good. So what I do is just magnetic pin holder. I just put my wrist down like that, and I pick up a bunch of them like this. Oh no! Trying not to drop them. Might not be the best idea, but I gave it my best shot. Alright, so there's 1 and 2. Okay, so these are going to be really good for, maybe I shouldn't have done it like that. Okay, let's just put a couple on here. So these are very different to the other pins that I've been using. So these other pins, they're very, very sharp. They've got little glass heads on them, and they're really good. I really like them, but they bend really, really easily. So it's difficult when I'm pinning onto a mannequin. So I'm using these ones instead, which are just simple dressmaking pins. There we go. So this is what I'm going to be working on today. For everybody who's just joined, I'm going to be making the Mina corset today, which is this one here. So I'm gonna, yeah, there we go. So you can see how we've got a really nice little sweetheart. Just, whoa, iPad is too big. Okay, oh, stop it. There we go. So we see how we've got a little sweetheart line and got a little point just at the, this top point of the bust before it goes up underneath the arm. So we're going to be doing that. And then we've got a couple of panels here, but what it doesn't show on here is that I'm actually going to be cupping just underneath the bust to help give that little bit of support. And then it's going to come underneath the bust and go down to the waist. So that's what I'm going to be working on today. So the first thing that we do on the mannequin here is that we put the outline in. All right, and we got our trusty yarn again. Oh, I forgot my snips. There we go. So we need dark colored yarn because I use white. Yeah. We use white fabric. Okay, let's go. All right. So if we know that we've got on here, we can see how this is still fairly high up on the bust. So the bust is like, it's fully covered. We can only see just a little bit of the cleavage right here. So that means that we don't want it to be too low. We want it to be, so this is right where the center of the bust line is. We want it to probably be about there. That's pretty much where the top of the line is going to be. So we're going to start our yarn from here. There we go. And this is going to be difficult to have a center line because this corset is going to go pretty much straight across, and we don't want it to sort of come in at the center line here. So instead of going directly down here, I'm actually just going to go straight across like this. Thank you for the likes, everyone. So we're gonna go straight across, and I'm gonna show you how I do this. Just bring it up, pin it in place, like that. And now we need enough room for the arm to move just along here, right? So that means I have to know that the point is going to be probably about here. So right where the top of this, the point here, that's where I want the point of the corset sweetheart line to go. So you see right here, I've got that little point right there. That's the point about there. Okay, so we don't want it to be affecting how the arm moves at all. We want it to be nice and free. There we go. So we're going to bring it up to here. Oh, pin, go in there. Still not used to using these pins because that one is completely blunt. Oy. Alright, and about there. Okay, so that's why I brought that extra magnet so I can get rid of all these blunt ones, because I just got these new pins yesterday. And you got to sort of weed through them as when you first get them to make sure that they actually are in good condition. So there we go. We can see how this top line is going to go straight across like that. And now we're going to bring it up underneath the arm. Like this. We want to have enough space underneath the arm's eye here, because this is literally right here. That's the underarm, right? That's where the pit, right inside there. So we want to give you just a little bit more space. Hello everybody. Welcome back to Draping Corsets. Okay, so we want to give us enough space. I'm going to smooth that out as much as possible to create a nice soft curve. Now this is where it really comes into play of what the final corset is actually going to be used for, and that will determine how we're going to be patterning this. So if I know that this is just going to be a standalone garment that needs to have like typical steel boning and things like that, then I would probably make it so that I'm going to make sure that all the seam lines are going to be in the correct position to put extra boning or just extra support to hold everything together to be able to create that kind of bust support. But if it's going to be used as like the inner support structure of a dress, then I know that I can put a wriggling boning like all the way top along here. And that means that I can sort of change things up a little bit. So that's why knowing the end construction process is really important as well. So we're bringing this down to here. There we go. Now, what do you think I should do for the back here? Should I just like go straight across, or should I bring it down more in like a V shape maybe, so that I can make this more of like a bustier for an inner structure for a dress? If I was to do that, it means that I'm limiting how much support that I can use or that I can put in for the bust, because we really need the extra like strength to go around the body to hold the bust support in place. So what do you think we should do here? Should we go down a little bit, or should we bring it up a little bit higher? V shape, yeah. Anyone else? What are we thinking? I need a hot chocolate. So the quick reminder, this is a D cup. So for a D cup, we do need quite a bit of extra support in the back, but it really depends on if I'm going to be turning this into the inner structure for a dress, then I would have a support boning, like a wriggling boning to go along the top here, which would really help to keep the support up instead of it sort of falling down. Because if we have it down in a V, I've got to make sure that there is a support structure to go like all the way around to really help to hold it all in place. So I've got, what have we got? We've got straight across, we have down, straight across, the V shape. Oh. Standalone corset. Yeah, all right, so let's just do a straight across one then. Especially for a D cup, yeah. I know what you mean, because I'm a little bit bigger and I need the support, so. Because I have to make one of these corsets in my course, as I need to make it for myself as well, so I can show everybody how I would make all the adjustments. So, yeah, okay. All right, so we have bust line. So we have straight across on the bust line right here. Straight across, and that's where the top of the corset is going to be, at the back. So it doesn't have to be really high, it just has to at least have the strength going straight across along that bust line right there. There we go. And now remember, with a corset, we need to make sure that there's at least 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch of space between the edge of the corset here and the very center back, because this is where the lacing panel is going to be. So this is this much space in the back so that the laces can come across, and it just gives you a little bit of extra strength to bring it in, because corsets need to be in the negative ease, which means it needs to come in and really like hug the body. I need my hot chocolate. All right, so if I make this as a standalone corset, that means that, yeah, we'll definitely have all the strength along here. There we go. But I'm going to put quite a few panels into this one, because I want to make sure that each of these are as customizable as possible, so that for somebody who wanted to adjust all of these 4 different sizes and body shapes, you have enough panels to put a lot of work, like a lot of adjustments into it, without having to like add extra panels into it. So here we go. So there's the straight line going all the way down to center back waist. There we go. So this is the lacing panel, and it's a nice straight line along there. And we're going to bring this all the way around. Just gonna tap this in place. There we go. And then we're gonna bring this back. To the center front. Okay. All right. Now, as we discussed in the very beginning of this is going to be a little bit more difficult, because I need to show you how. Oh, get back on that. There we go. So you see how this has got, it's not like sitting right in between the bust. We need it to sort of float over. So what we're actually going to be doing here, we are not going to be just doing half of the corset. We're actually going to be patterning the front panel on both sides, because we want this to flow over. All right, so it's not going to be separating the bust in any way. It's going to flow nicely over. So we'll actually be doing the pattern from this side over to this side for the front section, and then just continue on around the other side. So I'm going to go along here to probably about there. It really depends on how big I want this first panel to be. No, it's not going to be asymmetrical. It's just that in order for me to pattern it, let's see what, I'll show you what happens if you want to pattern it like that. See how the very center front line, if I was to do this, then the front of the panel would come in at the center of the bust line instead of it sort of floating over. So I'm going to be draping this. Yeah, exactly, there is no center front seam, because we want this to go float over. So you see how we've got that valley right here in between the bust. So we want to make sure that the front panel here is going to float over nicely. So in order for us to drape this, we have to make sure that we do the front panel in a full, instead of just doing half of it and then cutting that on the fold. Because the panel itself, the draped panel, it will be patterned in a way so it's supposed to come in instead of just floating straight over. Yeah. So now I just got to figure out how many panel pieces do I actually want in this corset. Okay, so we see here, we've got this center panel here, and then we've got another panel just here and another panel here. So it looks like there's 3, so in all, there's actually 5 panels along the very front. So from side seam to side seam, there's 5 panels, sorry. What should I do? Do you think I should add more panels so that there's more customization? Because in order for it to cut nicely under the bust, we're going to need to add some more panels in order to add that curve into all of the seams. So I'm actually thinking I might turn this, I might add another 2 panels into it. So I might put another panel in between this center front piece. Oh, so this mannequin came from a company called JK Trading. I got this about 7 or 8 years ago. So this one, I'm going to add another panel in between, like right in this seam line right here. So I'm going to make this slightly smaller, and I'm just going to adjust it slightly. Yes, exactly. I wanted to add more support into this one. It also adds a lot more customization as well. So if you've got a different kind of bust shape, you're able to adjust it a lot more if you have more panels in it. Because all you have to do is just add a very small amount of adjustments to each panel piece in order to create the support that you need. So we're going to add another panel just in here. So let me see if I can get this paneled out, draped up on this one. All right, which means, so here is a typical princess seam. You can see, you might not be able to, but there is a seam right here on the mannequin itself. You might, you probably can't. So this is the princess seam along here. And that's typically where I would put the first panel piece, but I'm actually going to put this just a little bit here. So right in the middle about there. So I'm going to put that there instead. If I can get this thing into my mannequin. There we go. So this is the center front. Sorry, that's my son in the background. So here's the center front, and here is the princess seam, and this one here is right in the middle. So I'm going to bring this up under the bust and just tag it up under the bust here. Just put 2 of these in. And that helps to, oh, another one, another dead one. Okay. Yep, there we go. So that helps to pattern it so that it comes up and underneath. And then we're going to bring it up to here. There we go. Oop, I need some more pins. So we want to make sure that we bring it up to the same line as what we see over here. Hopefully.
Nose.
Okay, thanks, bud. There we go. Ooh, get in there. There we go. All right, I gotta stand up for this one. Hang on, sorry. Missing questions. Do you ever do a twill tape bridge from bust point to bust point? All right, so it depends on the kind of garment that I'm using. If I'm going to be putting like a bridge in between, or like a full curve to go all the way around, I'd actually stitch in a wriggling bone and not twill tape. Because twill tape, because we need it to hold itself together fairly well. So in this one, I'm actually going to be making it out of like multiple layers, and the inner strength layer is going to have all the wriggling and boning stitched onto it. And so that's going to, yeah, I show everybody how to do that. So it's going to look like it's not going to have a center front seam, but when I stitch all of the strength layers together, it's going to have boning all through it, and it'll be in the course. So this is just me draping out all of these pattern pieces. The rest of it, there's a lot to it. Okay, so let's bring this up to about there. Okay, bring about there. We can see here, it's about the same as to about there. So that's where that point is, straight across. And then we bring this down to the center front. There we go. Now I know it looks like it's it doesn't have a center seam and it's all asymmetrical, but this is just the way that we've got to pattern it out. Okay. There we go. So there is going to be a center front seam. It's just that when I'm draping all of this, you've got to see how, yeah, all this goes together. So when I'm putting in another seam, we're going to put this same seam on this other side so that you'll see the front panel here, and then we'll put all the rest in just on the other side. Whew. Okay. Da, 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 da. Okay. Need my copper. I'm glad it makes sense. I feel like I waffle on too much sometimes. I just talk and talk and talk, and I'm like, I hope people can understand me. Sometimes I've been told my Australian accent is a bit too thick sometimes as well. And people are like, I can't understand what you're saying. You're too Aussie. Like, sorry. I can't help it. Okay. Let's get this done. Alright. So to make this completely symmetrical, oh, I'm glad, thank you. Thank you guys. I appreciate the support. Alright, here we go. So we've got, this is exactly 4 centimeters. Yes. Alright, so let's go 4 centimeters again. So I put a knot in there, put the pin in it. There we go. Let's go exactly 4 centimeters again. There we go. Alright. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you like it. I don't. Oh, it's a weird accent, I think. Alright, so we're going there. So as we go straight up, we've got the angle. This is 5.5 centimeters. So I need to go 11 to right there. Just use my fabric one, my plastic tape. Oh, where's my other one? Stop using the metal one. Come here. There we go. Okay. That's better. See, that's what I should have done in the beginning. So bring it up to 11. So that's where that one goes. Back here. No, there we go. Alright, there we go, that's matched it up. And now, so this one is, it's around my neck. Okay, so you can see how I'm doing this here? I'm matching it up exactly on either side to make sure that this front panel is going to be exactly the same. Alright, we've got, this one here is 1 centimeter over and 1.5 up. So we've got 1 centimeter over and 1.5 up. So there. Yep, and 1 centimeter over. Okay, cool. So just hook that around there. Make sure these are the same. There we go. So as long as I've got the pins in the correct position, it all works. Okay, so we can see here how it comes up underneath the bust right here. So it just means that this front section is going to be fairly flat from the waist to the underbust, and then we're going to come up and up to the overbust here. So up and over the bust. So we're not going to have it go in the center point right here. It's going to go up and over. There you go. You can see a little bit better there. So you see how that's the front of it. So we're going to have a lot of support underneath here, like that, just from the pattern itself. So we're not going to rely on boning and things like that. The boning is just to help to hold it together to make sure it doesn't crumple. It's the pattern itself that actually puts the support into the garment. So this is going to be panel 1, and as I'm draping the fabric, as I'm taking the pattern off of the mannequin, so I'm just going to bring it so it just comes straight over. All right. Now we've got a nice little V shape going in the center point here. And I need it to come to there. So what I might do is I'm going to go straight over here, around, and then I'm going to bring it down so it's actually pretty close to this one right here. Actually, we're going to go princess seam right there, and we're going to bring it up to this point right here, and we're going to make sure it cups up underneath the bust and then goes over. Need some more pins. Okay. Whoa, I lost some more pins. No! My floor is covered in pins. I need to run a magnet over it again. Okay. There we go. Alright, so we're going from princess seam. There we go. So going from the princess seam here, I'm going to come up underneath this and go up to here. So thankfully there's already a pin up here, so I'm just going to wrap that around there and hold that in place while I put this into the correct position. So I still want it to be able to move if I need to. There we go. And now I want this to be, so I've got a little bit of extra support here, so it's going to sort of come out just a little bit to give you a little bit more support, but we do still need a seam at the front here, like right at that point right there, and that way we'll be able to sort of give you a little bit more space in the bust if you need to. What does princess seam mean? So princess seam is the term for the seam that goes from, so we've got the center front here and we've got the side seam right here. Usually the princess seam is about 8 centimeters from the center front to this point right here, and it comes up over the bust and then up to the shoulder. You can see the stitch line right here on my mannequin, and there's another stitch line right here. This is called the princess seam. I'm sure it's called other things as well, but that's the one that I typically know. So if you want to do a bit more research, there is the princess seam. It's right along here. This is where you typically get a lot more of the shaping when it comes to around the bust area as well. So if you want to add a princess seam, this really helps to create just a little bit more space in the bust. Sorry, that's just my son in the kitchen. All right, so I'm going to go right here.
I'm hungry, that's why I'm so loud.
Okay, yeah, you're fine. Don't worry, buddy, you're okay. All right. So there is that. There we go. So we have the next panel right here. So it looks like we've got like a really big panel right here. Now we have a small panel here, and then we're probably going to have another stitch line along here, and then have the side seam right here. Yes. It's very common in a lot of dresses, especially when you've got a dress that needs a bit of extra space for the bust. Yeah, it's probably one of my favorite design features that I like to put into a lot of bodices, because it helps to make it a lot more like shapely, a lot more comfortable, a lot less boxy. So just so many garments out there are just really boxy. So there we go. What do we think? We've got big center front, We have an extra panel here for the shaping. We're going to have another panel here on the side because sometimes we need just this seam right along here to help, especially when you've got a bust that sort of has a little bit more extra on the side here. We want to give you a little bit of space here so that you can sort of open it up. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to do that. Add a little bit more there. So this is where it comes into play, having a pattern or a garment that is specifically designed to be adjusted, and it's for multiple like body shapes and sizes. So that way you can be a little bit more mindful of designing it for somebody other than yourself, like somebody else. So you have to know a lot of the issues that come with wearing these kinds of garments. There we go. I'm just going to secure that in place so that it doesn't come out, because knowing my luck, it will all fall apart at one point. Ooh, right. So here we go. There's that. So you can see how we're patterning this one up. Let's do the next one. So we've got, so we have this much space to work with and then this much space. We really can't have this be one panel piece. We need this to really be separated into two to give this a little bit more space around here in the bust, because we're working with, see, you see how that we've got that curve on the side there, just like that. We need to account for this curve that's going to probably happen in the side here. That helps to sort of bring it in a little bit as well, to stop it from, to stop the bust from being pushed over to the side. We need it to sort of come in a little bit. So let's give this support right here. If anybody's wondering, that is Lo-Fi Girl in the background. It's typically what I have on in the background. It's just nice music to have as background stuff. It's weird if it's just really quiet, because all I can hear is the aircon. All right, so we're going to go right in the middle between the side seam and this seam right here, the princess. So right there. We're going to bring this up, so right here on the edge of where that bust line is going to be, so right there. Now this is sticking out just a little bit, so we're going to make sure it's going to be nice and flush against the body. Let's go here. And there we go, we're going to bring it to this point right here. I just put a pin right there. Whoop. So we're pointing up, that's right. And go 1, 2. Cut that off. And do that. And then push in the pin. There we go. Alright, so we have panel number 3. Right there. So we've got a little bit of space in between this panel right here and this one right here. So remember, these are actually just going to be like flat pieces of fabric. So we want to make sure we have enough space along here. And then I'm going to put in, I'm actually going to put it in, so this is where the side seam is. I'm going to put it slightly back from the side seam right here. Gotta drink my hot chocolate before it goes cold. Yes, I'm using yarn. So this is a dark colored yarn, because when I drape the fabric on here to take the pattern off of the mannequin, I use white fabric and I can easily see the yarn underneath it. It's cheap and easy. Sorry if I missed any comments. There we go. Okay. All right. So just like less than a centimeter back from the side seam here. Yeah, that doesn't want to go in. Okay. And then bring this up to the same spot. Oh, there. There we go. That one is just straight up and down. come on. There we go. Here we go. Hi. I don't use draping tape because it's expensive, and I use a lot of it. Because this is like just a couple of dollars, and I've been using this particular roll of yarn for years now, and I've draped all kinds of things, and this thing's only a couple of dollars. Draping tape gets expensive. So I am not directly on the side seam. I am just like less than a centimeter behind it, like that. Yeah, I do both pin and I tie it up. So there's a pin up here, and there's like heaps of pins all through this just to hold it all together. So that's what's holding all of these together. Yeah. So I'm just going to do it just very ever so slightly for my own reasons, because this side seam here is an absolute pain to deal with. Every time I try to pin in it, every time I try to like just do anything around here, it's an absolute pain. And yeah, everybody's side seams are just slightly different. So mine is just a little bit, just slightly behind. So this dress form is from JK Trading here in Australia. And I'm glad it makes perfect sense, because it doesn't make perfect sense to me sometimes. But I just found that I have a lot of issues with this side seam here, trying to pin into it, trying to do anything. Even this little pin down here, it didn't want to stick in all the way because it needs to. It's very frustrating. There we go. So now we have to do the back. So we've got the front panel done, right? So we have the center front, this center right here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll have, so 5, 6, 7. So this is 7 panels just on the front, and that'll be the side seam here. And then we're going to have 1, 2, and then we're going to have a little tiny panel just here in the back for the lacing panel. I do mark on the draped fabric, but I'm putting in all of the seam lines right now. So what I'm doing is, when you first start off with a draped garment, a lot of people use the tape and things like that, but I just use yarn because that's just cheaper and easier. What I do is I put the outline of the garment first, and then I put all the side seams in, and then I put the white fabric on top, and because I put dark yarn on white fabric, I can easily see where all the lines are, and then I just draw on the fabric where all the lines are. So instead of me draping random fabric up here and figuring it all out from there, I already have all of the outline and the side seams done, and it makes it a lot easier for me to drape the fabric with the right grain line, and I already know how it's all going to look by the time the fabric is even on here. Yeah, the side seam's awful. Yeah, they're annoying, aren't they? Yeah, I don't know why they do it like that. Maybe it's just to provide an extra little bit of strength or something, to make it so that it's really, really tight on the plastic on the inside. Because like you can pin into it. There's like a little tiny bit of like wadding underneath here, but it's hard, so you really can't do too much. So we've got another panel here. So I'm looking at how the mannequin here, how the body curves. We want to make sure that it's not going to be like just one great big panel all the way across, because we want to make sure that the fabric itself isn't going to twist up too much when it goes around the curves. It can be a bit much. It depends on what kind of garment that you're making. If you are making a garment that's meant to be like really drapey kind of fabric, and it's going to be like stitched together like in like very certain spots, or it's like going to be pinned together or like held together in some way, kind of like how a toga would be, then it's really good to be able to do it on a mannequin so that you can see how the fabric drapes on the mannequin. But doing something like this really helps. I love draping corsets on a mannequin, but if I'm going to be doing just regular clothing, I just do flat pattern drafting for that one. All of them have their own uses. So I've found just working on each of these skills, from flat pattern drafting to draping on a mannequin like this, or like just draping really drapey fabric. So practicing all these skills is important, yeah. Well, I would have been done by now if I wasn't talking so much. I tend to waffle on too much, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I would usually get something done in like, I would have something outlined, seams, fabric on, and finished within an hour. Like well within an hour, or like 45 minutes or so. See each of these lines here? Each of these lines represents a seam. So it's all different panel pieces. So there's no darts because it's all just in the pattern itself. So every single one of these lines, these panel pieces here, is going to be a separate piece of fabric, and all of the darts and all the shaping is going to be within the seam lines itself. You're welcome. I love doing this stuff. That's why I'm here. I want to keep teaching. I want to keep showing. So we've got one panel here. So I'm going to go down to here. Put the pin in there. And another one to come up to here. Ooh, there we go. And around. Ooh, there we go. There we go. The waistline is right here. So on the mannequin itself, we have like a little tape, a piece of cotton tape, and that shows where the waistline is. All right, so we have one more panel to go here, and then I'm going to do probably like a 3 centimeter panel right here, and that's going to be where the lacing is going to go. So the reason I'm putting in so many panels is because I'm making this as customizable as possible, so that for anybody who wants to try these patterns, they're going to be able to customize it to their own shape and size. It's going to be like multi-size and everything, so I'm going to grade it to different sizes. But everybody's body is so different, so you need to be able to make the adjustments needed. And the more panels that we have, the better the adjustments can be. Another panel there. Oh, we have another dud. There we go. Weeding through all these new pins to make sure that I get the ones that are actually sharp. There we go. 1, 2. Oop, there we go. So we got 3, 4. Now about. Let's go 3.5 centimeters. That'll be enough. There we go. And the same thing for the top. So we go 3.5 centimeters right there. There we go. There we go. Ta-da! Okay, all right, so what happens, this is what we're doing. Let me show you what we're actually doing. I am making a corset pattern that looks like that. So this is going to be used as like just a plain corset on its own, or like an overbust, and this is where the waistline is, and we've got the top little sweetheart with a little point right there. So I've actually added a little bit more on here. So what we've got, you can see here, we want, this is the front section, which has to be draped as one full piece instead of just a half, because we want the fabric to go straight across instead of coming in like right there in between the bust. So we've got a panel right here. We have another panel here, here, and then to the side seam here. So this is the whole front section. The more panels that we can add to the front, the more shaping that we can have and the more support we can have underneath the bust. So this is all, so you see how we've got, look at all that. It comes up underneath the bust, and then this section here will all be supported so that we have enough support in the bust to just wear it on its own. So this is to add customization to it. Actually, I might bring this over just very, very slightly. Like that. And there. Just very slightly. There we go. I just saw it a little bit more. So we can see how we've got just that little bit of extra space just here, so that when anybody wants to try and use this pattern, it means that they'll be able to fit it during the mock-up stage for their own bust measurement like that. You're welcome. There we go. That side seam looks wonky. All right, let's try and bring this over right to the very side seam. Ugh. There we go. There we go. That looks a little bit more straighter, doesn't it? There we go. Okay. Ta-da! So we have lacing panel. I could just turn this into one panel if I wanted to and just bring this one here over just a little bit. Should I do that? Or do we want to keep it like really customizable? Because especially if you have the kind of body shape where you're in a little bit more at the waistline, but you need a bit of extra support underneath here, or if you need to bring this open to allow your flesh to sort of sit in it comfortably while still giving you enough support, then having these extra panels will really help. Or should I, would there be enough just in this seam right here in the center? And then that one. Keep it? Okay. Yeah, I reckon I probably should, shouldn't I? Alright, I'll do that. Okay. I like it. You feel to remove? Okay. But I agree to keep it. Felt like this, it's all so easy. It can be. It's because I've done this so many times and I know how it will look like in the end, and because I've made this kind of thing multiple times, I kind of know the process of how to put it all together in order to prevent future issues from happening, because I've been to that point and I know a lot of the regular complaints that happen with a lot of these kinds of garments. So we can see how it really comes up really high from the waist, and then we've got enough space up here so that it can be opened up just a little bit to allow your body to sort of sit nicely and comfortably in it, but still give you the support that you need in order to hold the bust up. Because I'm hoping to be able to make this for my sister, because she's a size G and a size H, and I would really like for her to be able to wear one of these garments, and I need to give her the support that's really needed as well. So yeah, there we go. So this is how we get started with the draping side of things. So instead of just putting fabric straight up onto the mannequin, I've drawn out the entire outline, and then I put all of the seams in there first, and then we put the fabric up. Okay? All right, let's get this fabric sorted. All right. Now, what we use is actually it's a type of bleached calico, but it's fairly similar to just plain white cotton backing fabric. And yeah, as long as it's just like, oh, what just happened? Live goal. Okay, thank you. Wow, I didn't know you guys were doing that, but thank you. Oh my goodness. I don't know how this thing works, but I appreciate you. So yeah, I'm going to, yeah, let's get the fabric started. That just completely knocked me off kilter for a second there. 1 minute. Okay. Get my fabric, there's my iron. Oh, I'm gonna get rid of this. still got half of my hot chocolate left. Gotta finish that. So there you go. You can check that over. Ta-da. Right. Were any of you here for the last 2 times I went live and I was draping the other 2 corsets? Because I talked a lot about fabric grain lines and stuff. There we go. And that'll help you to understand why, like, how I'm going to go about all of this. Yeah, another corset. Yes. So if you guys want to see the other 2 corsets that I've draped, I've actually put them up onto my YouTube channel. So I've done like the entire live. The first one's like over 3 hours. I'm so sorry. Oh, cool. Welcome back. So if you want to see the other 2, I went into a lot of detail about how you drape the fabric up, make sure the grain lines are all correct and in the right position, because we want this to be nice and smooth, because that'll be really comfortable. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing right now. I'm going to be sorting out the fabric, making sure the grain lines are all nice and straight, and then I'll show you how I drape it all on. So it took that long because I couldn't stop talking, and there was a point where she tried to quit on me and she like popped out of her base, and yeah, you could see me struggling to put her back in her place. Oh, that sounded so bad. So essentially this is what they're going to look like. This is one left over from what I did yesterday, or the day before actually. So we're going to have just a flat piece of iron fabric, and we have a long grain line all the way along. So I might use that at some point if it's not. Oh, yeah, that should be right. Okay. All right, so we've got white. This is just bleached calico. If you're in America, this is muslin fabric. Same as what you got here, Dressmaker's Design Studio. I have it linked in my bio. So Dressmaker's Design Studio. That is me. There we go. Alright, I need a big piece for the center front. Where did that pen go? There it is. And now I need a ruler. Ah, there it is. Got stuff everywhere. Alright. I need a big piece for that center front. Okay, is that going to be big enough? Yay! It is going to be big enough. Yay! Alright, so there's going to be the center front piece. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need 6 more to go. Okay, just a moment. Two, three. almost there. Oops, sorry if I'm missing any. Oh, thank you so much for answering. I appreciate you. Yes, it is yarn. This one here. This is the same ball of yarn that I have been using for years now. And that's why I don't use the tape, because this thing is like $2 something, if that, and it's lasted me years. The tape runs out really quickly. One, two, 4, 5, 6. So 2 more to go. I know that the back panel is really small, so I'm just going to do this. Okay. And there we go. And that's for the back panel. Yay! All done. Don't need that again until the very end. Done. Down. Okay, we're ready to start draping. All right, this is the part that everybody knows, where you put fabric onto the mannequin, but yeah, obviously it's not the very first step. All right, so sorry I missed your questions. Yes, this is the step I get. Yeah, all right. Exactly. Yep, Jennifer, that's exactly what I do. All right, let's go. So I have this part here that's specifically for the center back. So I'll leave that one for last. That one there is probably gonna go next to it. That was just a regular piece. That's a regular piece. That's a very big regular piece. I don't know why I did it so big, but anyway. Better be too big than too small. All right, there is the center front. Much bigger piece, and there's the next piece. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to match up the grain line that I've put in here, and I will put it as the very center front, because there's heaps of space on here. Yes, it's exactly why I use the dark colored yarn and then the white fabric, because watch this. You can see how you can see it from underneath. Oh, there we go. You can see it underneath there. Just in there. Yeah, makes it really easy to see. So the grain line, thankfully, because this particular fabric, I can really easily see how the fibers in the fabric here go like straight across and across. But yeah, we've got the selvage right there. That's where the grain line is, straight up and down. But I can easily see how the fibers in the fabric just go straight across. And yeah, it matches along with the selvage. So let me just extend out this grain line a little bit. Where's that ruler? There it is. Okay. I do like having the grain line go all the way to the very top to the bottom of the fabric. Makes life a bit easier. I gotta do something for here. Hang on. There we go. Oh, I had to check to make sure I was a live person. Thank you, TikTok. Okay. All right. So we have all the way from the top to the bottom. That way I can match it up with the center front line here. Sorry. So we've got the center front seam line in the mannequin right here. let's match this up. Okay, I'm gonna have to stand up for this. Okay. Another hot chocolate. Oh, it's cold. Ugh. Okay. Right. So we're gonna match this up. Center front, right there. And then I'm gonna hold this across like this to make sure we've got a little bit of tension on the top here. And I put that in at the princess seam there, and then the princess seam across here. So we have that little bit of tension. This is why we need it on the grain line exactly, to make sure that we're not gonna have any of this bias stretch along here. So we want this to go straight across like that. And it's gonna come up underneath the bust and then go straight down to the waistline without having any of these wrinkles. So a lot of these wrinkles that you'll see will come out once I've gotten rid of all the excess. But for now, I'm gonna go like this, pull it a little bit tight. You can see how it changes there, so that we can see the exact top of this. So there we go, right along there. So I'm gonna pin this all in place before I outline it, because I wanna hold it down exactly where I want it to end up. Okay. Because not only do we want this to cup under, but we also want it to sort of go over the top as well to create that little bit of security above the bust. Okay. There we go. Might just let that one go free a little bit there. So I'm just gonna open that up a little bit at the center front. So we've got directly on the widest part of the bust line, just across here. I am going to stretch this like that, and I'm gonna hold it down with both my hands, sort of walk it across. Thankfully I've got fairly big hands. Hold it down with my arm, and I'm gonna pin this down with the pins like pointing in a certain way, so it's not gonna be able to pull back this way. If I had the pin going that way, it'll just come straight off the pin. There we go. There we go. So we've got that little bit of tension just across there, and to go up here as well. So I'm going to adjust that one. There we go. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom here. Now that I've got this done here, I'm going to take it down to the bottom, because this is actually starting to tilt slightly. I want to make sure this bottom section is right on the center line still. And now by doing that, look at this. This is not what we want, is it? So because the grain line is now directly on the center line, we need to adjust where all these other pins are to get rid of this little twist right here. Yeah, so even when I pull it across, we've still got a little bit there. So let's take all these out. Okay. There we go, just slightly. So I need to bring that one up a little bit, because obviously this isn't completely straight. Typically what you would have to do is you'd have to make sure that you have an exactly straight line, straight little box to do all the draping with, but that takes a really long time, and I'm a very patient person, but I'm not that patient. So let's do this again. So now we've got that. There we go, let's bring that one down.
Mom,
Yeah.
since there's a Black Friday sale going on right now.
Yep.
Oh. So, okay. Should I wait until Boxing Day sales, or just... What about the
We'll check it out later.
okay.
Yeah, we'll check it out later.
Yeah.
So here we go. You can see how it's a little bit better. There we go. A lot smoother now. There we go. So I've just put it on the outside of where the yarn is. There we go. Now let's bring it up underneath the bust here, and then I'll probably have to bring this up just a little bit to allow it to come up underneath the bust. Oh, there we go. Now I can sit down again. Okay. So let's just bring this up just very, very slightly. There we go. Letting it cup underneath the bust. There we go. You can see how we can see the lines underneath there now? That's what we're looking for. Oop, that way. There we go. go, that's directly on that underbust. The pins. Sorry. Oh, that's annoying. Okay. There we go. Okay. Alright, let's keep going. So we can see, look at that. See how it was loose before? And now you bring it down. There we go. So we're just going to slightly pull it like either side. So you can see how if it was twisted in any way, you can see how we've got those wrinkles. That's what we don't want. So we want to bring this nice and straight down. There we go. Just holding that down in place. All the way down to the waistline. All right, I can feel the waistline of the stitch line for here, right underneath, and it is still on the waistline. There we go. So look at that. That's what we're going for. That's why we want to have all of these yarn here first. We put the grain line all the way along, so it's right along that center line here. And then we just keep maneuvering it around until we've got this nice straight line straight across. So that's why we had to make it like that. We couldn't just go straight from the center front. We had to go straight across the bust. There we go. It's a little bit of puckering here. It's probably because I don't have it pinned. And I did the same thing over here. I just pull very, very slightly. And I do the same thing here. Same thing there. And here. And there. Now I'm not going to do it right in the very center front because that actually does come down a little bit and that's going to cause some puckering and it's going to sort of pop out from the body anyway. All right, so what I'm going to do now is instead of drawing straight on it, I'm actually going to cut a lot of this excess off. I'm going to still leave quite a bit around it to give me a little bit of room for wiggling it if it needs to, but we need to cut off all this excess to prevent it from causing any more issues. So go ahead. That's why draping this kind of stuff really does take a lot of excess fabric because this is what we want. This is what we want to achieve, especially when sewing up a corset. That about there. Take that out. All right, there we go. There is the center front, and now you can see just how easily you can see these yarn underneath here. So all I have to do is just draw the line on the fabric here, and I'm going to do the exact same thing for all of the other panels. So ta-da! Yep, so that's how we create a nice smooth front center panel that doesn't sort of sit in. We have to make sure it is going on either side of the bust, like right to almost to where the apex is. This is going to go slightly over the apex. Just like that. Yay! All right, let's draw it in. So I've got my black pen. Now for this, we do not use those friction pens or the heat erasable pens, even though I love using them. I typically only use them for my pattern making, sort of in the adjustment sort of phase. If I do it with this, it's gonna all disappear because eventually I will actually iron this while it's still on here and I'll steam it to allow the creases along here that's gonna be in there eventually to set fully, and that's gonna help with creating a much smoother pattern piece once I take it off the mannequin. All right, so let's get this drawn up. that. Try not to press my hand on it too much, otherwise it's going to move the fabric. Now, here's something you might not see, is that this is much bigger than this, isn't it? Even though I marked it out exactly the same, it's not. So, this is just a regular pen, ink, black pen. A marker tends to bleed out on the fabric a little bit too much, and it can soak through the fabric, and it might damage or put little marks on my mannequin. So if I use pen, it has a nice fine line to it, and it doesn't soak through and it doesn't bleed out at all. So I prefer using an ink pen. Yeah, so eventually what I'm actually going to do, once I take this off, yes it is. So the first two corsets that I did the last couple of days, they're already up there. And I'll put this one up once we're finished here. Anyway, so after I've drawn this on, it's not going to be exactly symmetrical because you're never really able to do it like fully symmetrical like this. I'm going to do my best. I will always do my best. So what I do when I have created the paper pattern, that will actually turn into a pattern that's like a cut on the fold. So you're just going to have it from the center line here, and it's going to be the best of both sides. I'm going to try and make sure it's nice and curvy, and I'll sort it all out once I've transferred this onto the paper. If you want to see how I do that, the last live that I did that's up onto YouTube, I actually went through the entire process of me taking a corset pattern, which is the one that's got the bust cups. I took that off of the mannequin and I went through the entire process of sorting it out on the paper to create a paper pattern. So yeah, I am talking so much. All right, so let's put this top line in. All right, center line there. There we go. There we go. So to finish this off, I always put a number 1 on here, and I'm going to put it on this, all the markings on this side, so that I know this is the side I'm going to be using. All right, and then we have grain line here, but I will transfer it over to another line. I'll draw another line later on along here, but yes, exactly, yeah. So there we go. We have number 1, and it'll be like just this side here. But in order for it to have that nice smooth line there, we had to do both sides. There we go. And now what we do from here is that I like to just fold this underneath so that we can do the next one nice and smoothly. So let's get rid of some of this excess that we don't need. So let's put that there. So before all these pins were just on the outside of the yarn, I'm just putting them on the inside now, so that I can safely cut off this excess here. Okay. Little snips in it so that it can go around these curves. The curvier it is, the more snips that we need. go. Here we go. Hey! I am not left-handed, I'm actually right-handed. You might be seeing this flipped though. So this is my right hand. This is my left hand. And I'm currently doing this on the left side of the mannequin here. So I know it looks different on there, but it is actually, this is the left side. Don't mess up these lines too much. Yeah, it gets me every time too. Takes me a little bit to go, oh, that's right, yeah. It's a weird thing about TikTok. It works, but it's still messes with my brain a bit too much. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now we are ready to do this next panel. No, this is a magnetic pin holder. I don't have an Apple Watch. I wouldn't say no to one though. I don't have the money for that. All right, next panel. We have these in all, oh, there it goes. I dropped one. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Now, is that, oh, it's not quite big enough, I don't think. I'll put that one over there. All right, let's go with this one. That's really big. Do I have another piece? It's a bit smaller. A little bit smaller. That one, that'll do. Okay, so with this one, we are not going to have the grain line go straight up and down. We're actually going to have it so it's tilted slightly so that it can go nicely over these curves without it twisting too much. So we're going to start off with it all the way up here, and I'm going to have the grain line directly in the center of this panel, so it's going to go like along there. Because we want that strength to be all the way down this panel piece. It's not going to be like a straight up and down. There we go. And I hope that makes sense. It makes sense in my brain. It might not make sense to everyone else though. I'm so sorry. Okay, so, and you can see why I do this. You can see here how we've got it up there. We don't want it to go straight up and down, which is where it's hanging right now. We want this to go across like that, so that as we bring this down and up underneath the bust and then bring it down to where the waistline is, we want it to sort of follow along where the panel piece is. And we're going to make it nice and smooth. So it's eventually going to be here. Oh, there's pins there. Where's that pin? Where's that pin? Oh, there it is. Too many pins. All right. So if we want the grain line, let's go directly in the center line right there. So we want that curve to be nice and smooth, as well as going up underneath here as well. So let's put a pin there. I know we've got the little wrinkle up here, but we'll sort that out in a second. There's that one. And there's that one. And let's bring this up underneath here, so we're not going to have any little wrinkles there. Like that. There we go. Alright. So it looks like this grain line is actually going to be pointing directly to this little point right down here. So that's what we need in order to make it nice and smooth in just this little area right here. Okay. So I'm going to adjust this up here to smooth it out a bit. Like that. And there we go. So we've got a little bit of a wrinkle here, but that's because there's actually a great big pin right there. It's underneath there. So this is what we got to do. We just need to adjust it slightly. Now this is the reason why I had this seam line right here just over a little bit more, because I didn't want to have this wrinkle right here on the edge, like right there. So what I might do is I might just bring that over just a little bit, and then that'll help to keep this like nice and smooth right there. So just move that slightly over. So I'm just gonna do that. So about there, I think that's back where it was. There we go. Bring those pins in. There we go. So just adjusting that to make it so that it's nice and smooth. So now we've got the seam there instead of having that big wrinkle. Okay, let's go. There we go, right there. Just on the outside. Stand up again. Threading my arms. Okay. So we've got that one there to there. All the way to there and to there. So now we've got, even though all the rest of this is all wrinkly, we don't have any wrinkles here. It's actually nice and flat until we come down to this point where I need to pin it back up underneath here again and then down to the waistline. So I've run out of pins again. There's a lot of pins in this. So if you ever want to do any of this kind of draping, make sure you actually get yourself a decent amount of pins. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. So grab yourself a decent amount of dressmaking pins because you're gonna need them. As I work my way down this, I realize that there's going to be a couple of wrinkles just here. So let's see how it goes smoothing them out. There and there. I'm just going to smooth it out. So I'm going to just pull it slightly and just twist it around and see how it goes. There we go. And then right there on the underbust, right there. Oop, come on, work for me. Where's that thing? There it is. All right, that's been twisted over just a little bit more. There we go. There we go. So if you can see here, we have a little bit of a wrinkle right there, but I can just slightly adjust that if I need to. I think it's because of that. That's all right. Just a tiny little one. It's not going to ruin it. All right, there we go. We now have a flat pattern piece, but you can see how, look at where that grain line is. It's like right off in a V, because that's the kind of shape. I'm just on the outside of the yarn because I want to be able to see the yarn really easily and have it so that it's kind of like, it's like we're going around it and it's like framing where the pattern piece needs to be. It really helps to, yeah, so you can easily see the outline of it as the pins go around it. Oh, that's pins again. That still needs to be there. So you can see how all these pins are like facing outwards. That's because the fabric is going over the yarn and being pinned like underneath it. You're welcome. Remember, there is no stupid questions. Ask as many as you like. The only stupid questions are the ones that you do not ask. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of some of the excess here. There we go. So you see here, you can see where the grain line is. Compared to the grain line in the center front, you've got quite a V shape, and that's how we get that really nice smooth fabric right there. All right, now let's draw it. Let's match up these lines. Yeah. Make sure I can feel it. There we go. Where is it? There it is. Matches up with the bottom of that one. There we go. Oh, stand back up. Okay. You've got to make sure that it matches up the top and the bottom with the other one as well. Where is that line? There it is. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect. All it needs is just the basic outline, and then we'll true up all the seams and make it all really nice and smooth once it's actually off the mannequin. So, doesn't have to be perfectly drawn. Fixing all that up is the next step after it comes off the mannequin. All right, so now number 2, and there's the grain line. There we go. So now all I'm going to do is just trim off the excess here, fold them under, and then we'll have that ready to go. So let's get this one finished, shall we? So you see how we've already got this little bit of shaping around the bust. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for. All right. So now I've got to move these pins so that they're kind of on the inside of each of the pieces of yarn, and straight up and down so that I can cut without getting them in the way. Go. So you see how I've changed around the position of each of the pins? There we go. I know I put a lot of what seems to be unnecessary steps, but once you've gone through this multiple times, there are certain steps that you put in place in order to prevent issues that would slow you down like in the future. All right, so when I first pin this in place, we have the yarn, which has like a very slight bump to it. So when we are putting the fabric down, we're pinning it down so that it's nice and taut across the piece, and then it's wrapping around the yarn and being pinned in place sort of like directly on it, so that we have that, pardon me, we have that tension here, and then that gives me like a really solid outline so that I can easily draw the seam lines along here. And then once I'm finished doing that, I know that the pattern piece is exactly the size that I want it to be. I move the pins to the inside so that I can cut it, all the excess off. So we still have what looks to be a seam allowance, but it's actually just like an extra piece of fabric so that I can like tuck it underneath. And I'll show you in a minute. So we don't have seam allowances here. This is not an actual pattern itself. This is just the draped pattern, and it's like the seam allowances are what you put on the pattern to cut out the mock-up and then the final fabric. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to put these little cuts and slices into it so that it can curve nicely without affecting the shape of the piece. So it's not going to cause any kind of tension on it that we don't want. And not cut, ooh, don't get the pins, oh my goodness. This is the same kind of thing that you would do when you're trimming a curved seam to allow it to go nice and smooth. And try not to cut either another pin or the yarn. Oh, the amount of times that I have accidentally cut the yarn, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I have done it so many times, it's so funny. It's like all I see is this little thing pop down and I'm like, no, I needed that. Trust me, if there's a mistake to be had, I have done it. Okay, so we've got little cuts in here, and let's match these up with this one here. So we've got like a nice, what looks to be a seam line here. I know I'm groaning a lot, but oh, it's hot and humid here at the moment, and I'm absolutely sick of the humidity. So there we go, just fold that over so that the seam lines match up. See what we're doing here? Look at that. Nicely matched up. Little ruler. I have no idea. Oh no, I'm so sorry. My bad. It's okay. Thought I nearly dropped all the pins everywhere. My bad, I'm so sorry. All right. Yeah, under there. There we go. How do I make this so difficult on myself? I don't know. It's ridiculous. to make a quick little adjustment. There we go. Just got to match up the top again. Here we go. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Okay, so we've got... Oh, what did I do? What did I do? Oh gosh. No, don't do that. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to fix it. Hang on. There we go. I don't know how to... I didn't know I could do that. Okay, so here is the line. It's all pinned in place. You can see it just pinned in place there. There we go. I would like to say that I'm technologically pretty savvy, but I'm useless most of the time. I do my best. Okay. And yes, that is what we will do for every single pattern piece all the way around. So if you are wanting to keep up, I will keep this live and yeah. Hang out with me while I do all of this. My school is an online sewing school called Dressmakers Design Studio. It is all linked in my bio. I used to have sewing classes here in Cairns, but then COVID happened. And yeah, I couldn't do that anymore. So I decided to turn it into an online sewing school so that people from around the world could continue learning how to sew even though they were stuck inside their homes. And I just kept going with it. And now I've got a course on there, which is my free essentials course, which covers a lot of different subjects. I've got the basic sewing techniques so that I show you all the different types of sewing techniques that you need to do any kind of garment construction. I've also got a PDF pattern for a dress attached to that course as well so that you can practice all of those techniques. I have my pattern making course where I teach you how to do flat pattern blocks, like making blocks, and then turning that into sewing patterns, because that's how I typically make a lot of my patterns. Why did I just do that as if I was... Anyway. So yeah, so I typically just do flat pattern drafting. So I take a block from either myself or my client or my friend, whoever I'm making a pattern for, and I create a pattern block of their body, and then I create the sewing pattern from there. So I taught people how to do that in your custom pattern library. And then I had a bunch of people asking me, how do you run this as a business and how do you actually do this? Because I've been doing this for a while now. And I've got a course on that as well. So yeah, if you'd like to go and see what I've got a bunch of patterns available already. I'm making all of these available, and this is all part of my corset making course. So I've got a bunch of corset patterns. And hello, Finland! I can teach long wool winter jacket. So I don't have a specific garment that I teach people how to make. I'm teaching people how to create their own garments. So if you have something that you want to make, I'm giving you all of the tools to put it together. So from like deconstructing your clothing, or if you have a design idea that you haven't like in your mind and it's like, this is exactly what I want and I don't know how to do it. Well, I've got all the tools in the school to show you how you can create it yourself. From the pattern making. So if you figure out like how to actually put all of the garment together, all the different sewing techniques that you need to sew it all together, and then yeah, go from there. So and now I'm teaching people how to make their own corsetry, so they can either make their own corsets, or they can do integrated corsetry. The one that I patterned 2 days ago, that's already up on my YouTube. That's the one that is for integrated corsetry. So it actually goes into a garment, like into a gown, or something that needs a corset on the inside. I've got an overbust corset, which is Morgan, that's already up in my school, and the long line underbust, which goes from under here and it goes down up and over your hips. That's the first one that I did. That was like the 3-hour long one. So yeah, I don't have a specific garment. I give you the tools to create any kind of garment that you want. So that's the difference between doing just basic dressmaking versus the advanced side of things, where I'm teaching you the tools to make anything, really. Because everybody wants such different kinds of clothing, you have different needs. Because I can't teach you how to make a wool winter jacket because I live in the tropics of Australia. right now I am in a, like, that's 22 degrees on cold right now, and I'm still sweating because it is really, really humid. I can't make anything like that, unfortunately. And like, I live in the kind of environment where even like, it's actually best to wear more clothing, because if you just take clothing off, you're just going to be like sweating. It doesn't matter. But if you wear comfortable clothing like this linen shirt and just a simple tank top like this, it's actually better for me to be wearing something like this than it is to just not wear anything at all. That's where a lot of people get wrong in the tropics. All good. No worries. I would love to go back to that part of the world. It is absolutely gorgeous. Back in 2019, my sister and my son and I went for a road trip around the UK, and we went up to northern Scotland, and because that's where our family is from, it was so nice. I loved it. It was one of my absolute favorite places. But then when my son and I came home, my sister actually went over to Norway, and she did this big train trip around Norway, and she got to see snow. I haven't seen snow since I was a kid. I want to see snow again. I haven't seen snow in so long. And I'm a cold climate person. I prefer to be in the cold climate, but all my family's up here. It's so frustrating. Alright, there we go. So now we're going to make sure that these pins are not going to be in the way when I try to do the draping on the next one. There we go. Alright, so that is now secured in place. Right there. Got a little bit of coming up and underneath from there. See how that works? Oh, you have snow.
Oh my god, lucky.
I would love to see snow again. I haven't seen snow since I was a kid.
I've only seen it from like the one place in the UK.
Yeah. Just a little tiny bit.
Do you want ice cream?
Later. I'll have some later.
Right.
We have ice cream. That's the closest I'm going to get to snow. So there we go. So now you can see how this is going to be patterned around the body. See, it comes up a little bit right there. So we do have that little bit of separation. It's not like straight across. So I come up and underneath here, and then it'll sort of come up a little bit as well. So there we go. Now we're going to pattern this piece. Now this one, I'm going to try and figure out how the grain line needs to sit on this one, because it snowed 9 months out of the year in Minnesota. What? Think of the same thing like 9 months out of the year, except it's the exact opposite, where it's like hot summer, it's hot, humid summer, and
a garbage summer.
Yeah, so that's my son. It's hot and humid, and like we walk out the front door, and it's like hitting a wall of soup. You can feel it, like it's I'm so sick of it. We've been up here for 13 years now and I'm done. But I know that you can be over snow after a while, but I am envious. We all want what we don't have, hey. All right, where's the rest of the? There. Oh, they're all. Yeah, there we go. All right, so that's not going to be big enough, I don't think. That will be big enough. And we have dry summers 9 months out of the year. You have dry summer. Okay, so we have hot and humid, disgusting summers. I don't mind the dry heat. I used to live in Canberra, which is the capital city of Australia. Amber alert. Okay, is Amber alert the same thing over there as what we have here? Because Amber alert means that there is a child missing or a child's been kidnapped. Please tell me that's not the same thing. Please tell me that. I would love to go back over to the UK. I loved it. Oh, good. Oh, I was like waiting on the edge of my seat. I'm glad. Thank you. We were in the UK. So I was in Oxford for the last conference of corsetry back in 2019. That was in Oxford. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing. And we had such a great time. And I got to meet so many beautiful, beautiful people. And I'm still friends with them now. And it's been like, 5 years? Oh my gosh, it's been 5 years. I miss all my friends over there. And after that, my sister brought my son over because he was 11 at the time. So he's 16, almost 17 now. And yeah, we drove from Oxford all the way up, I think it's the west coast, up to Glasgow, all the way across and up to Inverness, and then back down to Edinburgh. And that was amazing. We had such a great time. But I'm very glad an amber alert is different over there to what we have over here. Obviously, it's not the greatest because you got a lot of snow, but we hear amber alert and it's like, oh my God, there's a child missing. Okay, now let's put this piece up. Let's see what we need to do in order for us to be able to follow this straight line and then this curved line. That's what we're going to have issues with. We're going to need to see if we can make it so that it fits over this curved line and to go down on the straight line here. So it's not going to be straight up and down. That's what I can tell you. So let's start if the grain line is about here, right at the very top. So I'm going to point it towards here and it's probably going to go down to this point down here. Let's see. So I'm going to put the green line right at the very top. So we're just going to experiment a little bit and let's see what works. That's okay. Oh, another one. Another dud pin. Okay. We're slowly weeding through them all. Okay. So let's see if we can make this one go around these two curves. The straight line and the curved line. So we want this straight across like that. Gonna go. Yep. Oh, maybe not quite that much. All right, so let's go straight down to just on that edge. Like, it's not quite on that corner right there, but it's just a little bit in from there. So this is how we make sure we've got the correct grain line as we are draping. So you can see we've got the line right here, but we need it to go over to this straight line as well. So we're just gonna very lightly bring it over. So you see how I'm cupping around the outside here? So this is the biggest part of the curve here. Just gonna keep going like this. Can I keep stretching it out to make sure it's sitting rather nice? Pins again. So does an amber alert mean that you've just a lot of snow and just be really careful because the roads are going to be slick and all that? I hope so. move that over a little bit. There we go. All right, so we've got this bottom section pinned up nicely. Now I've got to do this top section and get rid of all these wrinkles up here because this is just a little bit too far over. All right, there we go. There, onto there. Opens. There we go. Look at that. Got a few wrinkles, a little bit up here. So go there. Bring that over just slightly. Bring that over just slightly. And just keep moving it around. There we go. Look at that. Much better. So I need another pin here. Just to cut this around the yarn. And another piece over here. There we go. We have a nice flat piece along here with no wrinkles where it comes up here and over this curve, but then straight along here as well. And this is why we needed to put that grain line in, so we know that it goes from the very tip up here to, I'd say it's about 15 mil away from this seam line right here. So we bring the country to a standstill. Really? Wow. I thought after all this time, like, after all this time, you'd think you'd be able to like have a lot of sort of policies in place and building an infrastructure that really like handles that kind of weather. Or has it gotten, do you think it's gotten a lot worse in the last like 10, 20 years or so? Because that's what I'm thinking with, yeah, but we're a stubborn bunch. So I'm descended from mostly Scottish, and then a bit of English, Irish, and Norwegian. So that's in my family history, but we are mostly Scottish, and we are an incredibly stubborn bunch. And so you would think we would learn, huh? It's the same over here in Australia. They're a stubborn bunch. But yeah. I'll get back over there one of these days. I would love to spend like a decent amount of time over in the UK. I love London. I did a big walking tour around London, and that's going to be one of my happiest memories of. There was this guy who, he said that he was like, if you'd crossed Hagrid with Ron Weasley. It is currently 2:22 p.m. It's 4 a.m. there, Rio? What are you doing up? My goodness. I should stop talking now. You need to get some sleep. Or do you have to actually get up at this time? Are you normally up at this time? Because that's come on. Oh, that's right, I gotta move things. Anyway, so I did a walking tour around London, and the guy was amazing. Yes. Okay, I get that. Yep. No more explanation needed. I'm actually like really happy with the fact that my son is now 16 and he sleeps a lot. He's that typical teenager. Anyway, that walking tour, I get to speak to people from all over the world. I love you guys. You guys are brilliant. And like we went and saw so many cool things around London, and then we did a big walking tour around Edinburgh. We did a lot of things sort of just all over the place. We went on the Jacobite train as well, the Hogwarts train. We were only there for like, I was there for 3 weeks, but my sister and my son were only there for 2 weeks because I was there for a week beforehand to go to the conference first, and that was fun. That was so much fun. Get a bunch of corset people together and gin, and they're all there. Yeah, it seemed to be the consensus for just about everybody there at the conference that if you give everyone some gin, it will turn into a rather wild night. I was supposed to draw the lines first. I'm getting distracted. Oh, okay. I'm so distracted. You're not saying anything now so that I don't get distracted, huh? I see you. Okay, so this is panel number 3. There we go. Ta-da! You're being good. I appreciate you. Yeah, but if there's a text-to-speech option that kind of does it automatically, that would freak me out because I wouldn't know what anybody's saying, and somebody might say something out loud that's really not appropriate, which has happened before. So yeah, I'm okay. I just have to make sure to go back into my comment section and make sure we're all good. Yeah, I have learned. I've done this a couple of times now, so it's like, okay, I gotta make sure everybody's safe first. I know that they do that in like YouTube lives where you can click a certain thing where somebody writes a comment and it comes up as speech, and they want to attach a circle skirt. Okay. So what's the question? Say you have made your corset to the high hip and later want to attach a circle skirt. What shape do you make the hip line? Is it dead horizontal or is there a curve? It's easier to do it completely horizontal. If you have it on a curve, you have to make sure that the curve in the waistline of the skirt itself is matching. Otherwise, it's going to be all wonky at the bottom. One thing you can do is that when you have a circle skirt and you want to pin it to, let's say you have so you've got the waistline here and you've got like this really curvy line of the corset underneath, right? So you make the waistline of the circle skirt to be on the waistline itself. And then once you've actually got it onto the corset, like if it's on a mannequin, you put it on, and then you just sort of bring it down. So you pin it down to where or where exactly you want it to be on the corset. Yeah, and then you can sort of just like trace it out with like a thread, like a thread basting sort of around, so that you know exactly where the bottom of the corset actually is. It's a bit of a process to do it that way. So yes, you would start it off as dead horizontal on the waistline itself, and then you can adjust it to where you want it to be. If that is if it is if it's not like a straight hem, yes, you will have to sort of put it on there and then pin it down so that you can get the exact measurements that you want. Yeah, that's probably easier. So yeah, the hip line would always be completely straight. Otherwise it's really, really difficult to do. And it takes a lot of like looking at it and just best guessing, really. It's like, yeah, that'll do. It's trial and error. If you could just make it two-parter as well. Have it so that there's a skirt that matches. So you put the skirt on first and then the corset over the top. Oh, there is a lot of waist, yes. And there, but each section of the stitching between the corset panel looks swoopy. All right. So the next thing you could do is make it. So what I would do is I would trim off the top section of the skirt until, like, when you're putting it on the dress itself, keep trimming it off until that bottom section is exactly where you want it to be. Otherwise, I would measure, if it's a straight horizontal at the bottom of the corset, measure what the bottom of that corset is and use that as just the waistline. Just don't attach it on the waist, just attach it onto the bottom of the corset. Anyway, yes, there is a lot of waist in this, because as you're doing this, you've got to sort of adjust it and trim it so that you don't actually know where the fabric is going to be, and you don't really have like a specific outline until after you've actually drawn it on. So you try to minimize it as much as you can, but when you're draping like this, there is quite a bit of wastage. So trying to use the scraps in other things is really good, as like stuffing, or ripping it all up and using the threads and putting that into things like little pattern weights or stuff. So use it as stuffing. There's lots of different options depending on what you have the time and energy to do. So hopefully that helps with the circle skirt. If the bottom of the corset is completely straight, then yes, I would use that measurement as the waistline for measuring out the circle skirt, and then just attach it to the bottom of the corset itself, because then it will be all right. If it's not, then find the point that is the lowest it can possibly be where it is still a straight line, and then use that as the measurement. And then as you have done that, pin it on, like once it's all cut out and you've got it pinned on here, then you can try and find the closest you can to attaching it in place. Or just keep trying to pull it. You might need to move a little bit of excess from the back of it. Just sort of attach it onto the bottom just by hand basting it. I wouldn't suggest pinning it, because that's just one small little section that it's not, I find it just doesn't work quite as well. But if you hand baste it, that helps to give it a little bit more strength so that you can easily see where it needs to be done, and just gives that little bit of extra movement. So yeah, just go as low as you possibly can and use that as your waistline measurement, and then attach that underneath, or like wherever you want to be attaching it to. You're welcome. Hope it helps. Just keep trying all these different things and see how you go. Yeah, just go from there. It's all about experimenting and figuring out what works, especially with the type of fabric that you're using for the skirt as well. So you always make sure that when you are doing a skirt, like a circle skirt, oh, there goes another pin. Let it sit for at least 24 hours after you've basted it in place. That way you can, you'll know exactly how the fabric is going to stretch and move once it's actually in place, and you can adjust it from there. Holy Mikado. I don't think I've used that one before. I'm not sure how that one would work. What's the GSM, do you know? It's heavy? Okay, so if it's heavy, it's probably not going to have as much stretch. Is it really thin and light though? Does it drape pretty well? So I know that you can get a couple of satins that feel really heavy, but once you like hold it up, it actually like drapes really nicely. But then you have the heavyweight stuff that just really doesn't drape at all, like it really holds itself together. So I've got some satin fabrics that they're soft, they feel very light, but once you've actually draped it, it looks heavy. Like it feels very heavy, but like it's 190 GSM. Okay, so that's probably going to drape fairly well. It's good for a circle skirt, especially if it's only going to be one layer. It should drape really nicely then. Yeah, so from that point, what I would do is that I would measure the lowest point that you can go, that it is still like a horizontal line on the corset, and use that as the waist measurement. And then once you've done the measurements and you've cut it out of the fabric, I would first like tack it in place with some basting stitches. Oh, fantastic, that'll be good. So to attach the waistline, yeah, put it on some basting stitches, and then once you've, it really depends on how you've also stitched together the corset itself as well. If you're, like, it really depends, like how have you done the bottom of the corset? Because I'm guessing you'll probably like stitch it like with right sides together, and then you'll have a seam, and then the skirt will come over like that. I'm just guessing. I have no idea. Maybe it just looks like that. Sometimes it can just look like that because of the how the grain lines sit on the skirt itself. So when you twist around the circle skirt, you can see how the grain line affects the drape of it. So if you have, the center front is usually like straight on the grain line. Yeah. So if the center front can be like directly on the grain line, that means that you're going to have, you're going to have those, like the curved, like little, like folds in it. It kind of looks like a fold, but it's not actually. It's just where the fabric is on the bias. And that's where, if you have that like right above your hip line, like right down from your hips, then that's like a nice curve to it. Otherwise, if the yep. Yeah, so maybe like adjust how the bias is sitting. So you might have to make it like a multi-paneled circle skirt, depending on where you want the grain to be sitting and how you want it to be like flowing around your body. There's so many things to think about. I'm sorry. But if you have like a multi-paneled circle skirt, it means that you can sort of twist it around to try and figure out where you want the folds to go, depending on where the straight grain and the bias grain is. I know there's a lot to think about, so hopefully it works. It's the best I can suggest without me actually being able to see it. All right, look at that. We have shaping around the bust. Oh, that looks a lot weirder, but that's because that just needed to be brought back over. There we go. Ta-da! So look at all that shaping around the bust that we've got. Ta-da! So that's why we adjust the grain lines. So look at that. The difference in the grain lines that we've got here. So we've got one from there to here. This one here is pointing that way. So we've got two grain lines that are sort of pointing up to this point right here. Then it comes out from there, and that allows it to sort of come up nicely underneath this point right here. And then we have it straight up and down there. So yeah, that's why we need to be very careful of where our grain lines are when it comes to draping any kind of fabric, so that yeah, we can make sure to get that kind of support that we're looking for in a corset like this. That's what we're looking for, people. Especially in a bigger bust like this. This is a D cup. Thank you. Oh, you're still here. Hi. Hi, Joy. Oh, okay. I'm gonna get the rest of these done. Still got 5 more to go. All right, let's zoom through these, because I've been on this for a while now. I'm hungry. Go. So there we go. We have all of that lovely support. There we go. And this is just the fabric. No binding or anything. It's just pinned in place. And we want to keep these nice and smooth. So once we get to the point of actually sewing all of these together, we've got to make sure that all the grain lines match up. And we're going to have all the support that we're looking for in a garment. All right, let's get this side seam done. Where Okay, so we've got the same thing. It's not completely straight up and down. It'll be just tilted slightly. There we go. There we go. Oops, sounds like it's starting to rain again. Oh, got another dud? No. Yep, another dud. Oh, thank you guys. What? Oh, thank you for all the gifts. Oh, goodness. Oh, thank you. I don't know how that stuff works. Oh god, thank you guys. So today I am making another corset pattern. This is number 4. Yeah, so 4 or 5, so I've got one more to make after this one. So this is a corset pattern. We've been learning all about how to work with the grain lines to create like a really good support around the bust, like that. And how a draped garment, we had to make sure that the front panel here, because there's no center seam here, we had to drape it like straight across so that we can get this nice sort of rounded over here. It's still going to cup like a little bit under there, and then come underneath the bust here. And then we've got a lot of support right here for the side of the bust. So this is what we're working on. I'm just getting all the panel pieces in place so that I can take the pattern from the mannequin onto a paper pattern. So that's what we're working on. I do, yes. I do make all of them. And I'll be making all of them in my corset making course coming up. Because this is what I do, I teach. I teach how to make all this stuff. Okay. Let's stop this mannequin from going weird places. There we go. Okay. Trying to get this done a little bit quicker so we're not here all day. There we go. Done. All right. There we go. So that's, I can usually make it a lot quicker than what I was doing the other ones because I was talking too long. So it's looking pretty good so far. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 so far. We need to do 5, 6, 7, and 8 now. All right, so let's see how quickly we can get this one done. All right. 2 pieces. No, 3. I might actually turn that into 2 separate pieces. For some reason I only have 3 left instead of 4. Match out the green line, yeah. There we go. There we go. All right. Let's get this last couple ones done. Okay. So we have the grey line here. Now it's not centered on the fabric, which is annoying, but that's okay. We'll still be able to get this done. So we're getting away. Right down there. There we go. Thankfully, these last couple of ones are going to be pretty easy because they're just like straight up and down. Yeah. So the grain line is actually not straight on this one either. It is very slightly tilted. There we go. Safe. There we go. This is just a regular ink pen, just a regular like writing pen. So I use these instead of any kind of marker or anything like that because a marker will tend to leave a very thick line and tends to bleed a lot in the fabric, and then it goes like transfers straight onto the mannequin itself. So, and I don't use the heat erasable ones either because I use the iron to set all of the fold lines in each of the pattern pieces, and the iron would completely erase all the work that I've done. So just a typical ink pen creates like nice, fairly fine lines, and yeah, it doesn't bleed, leaves a good mark on there, and you're able to, yeah, you're able to pick them up really easily, obviously. So yeah, just a regular black pen or a blue pen or whatever you want to use. There it is. Thank you. So this is a very long and tedious process, isn't it? I had a couple of people ask me last time I was live, like, how do you have the patience for this? And I'm like, you have no idea. And I have no idea either. I just do. Like, I enjoy doing this. I kind of just go blank kind of in my head and I just do it. So if I mean being unsocial right now, I'm very sorry. I am just focusing on getting this done so I can show you all what it looks like. Whoa, you okay?
So sorry. Yeah.
You good? Okay, you're good. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm just focusing on right now, just getting this done, getting it patterned, because I have an entire course I need to get finished so that I can show you guys how I make corsetry. All different kinds of corsetry. Alright, so we have the grain line 5, we have number 6. So here is what we're at. There we go. This is what we're at so far. Oy, it's taken quite a bit to get to this point. So we can see here we worked around all the bust cups to make sure we got a nice amount of support underneath here. And I've made it so that there is this many panels in the back because at the very beginning of this live I was talking about how many panels we should have in the back, but I wanted this to be adjustable for everyone. I wanted it to make sure that you had enough panels so that all you had to do was just add like a little bit extra and then you would be able to like really customize it for your own measurements. So no matter how your body is shaped, this will have enough pattern pieces in it so that you can adjust it so that it's comfortable for you. And when I make these in my course, I'm going to make it on like multiple body shapes so that you can, I'll show you all the different kinds of techniques to help like add a bit more shape to this than just from this mannequin itself. So if I hadn't have padded out this mannequin and gave it extra in the bust, it would have been a very difficult pattern to adjust because it is quite small. It's about an A to B cup and there really isn't much hip or butt to it. So I wanted to give it just that little bit more shape so that I could like really customize it as much as possible. So this is what we're working on. Ta-da! Yeah. So we have 2 more to go. So this is the last piece and then this is the lacing panel. So this is where the eyelets are going to go in order for it to be adjustable. So the center back is actually right here and the space between this part here and this part here is where the laces are going to go. So 2 more to go. Bear with me. What's that last piece? Oh, there it is. Cool. So I've got this piece. I'm just going to trim this down a bit because I don't need that much. I'm just going to do something. Yep, because I'm overheating in the heat right here. Oh, that's so much better. Oh my goodness. Hopefully you don't get it like on there and it's blowing too much and you can hear it, but I am overheating really badly because it's really humid up here at the moment. And even though that's set to 22, it's still like, it's really hot up here. I live in the tropics of Australia. That's kind of what happens. Like 22 was cold for me. So much better. All right. Let's get this done. Bring up the grain line. No, don't run away from me. So we've got the top first, and then I just do the same thing, same as the others. I just bring this down, and like because it's a straight line, I just go to the bottom and I just make sure it's all nice and straight. And the fabric hasn't got any wrinkles on it. And then I just pin it down. Just so that it cups on the outside of the yarn that I've got here. There we go. And you can see the yarn underneath there pretty easily, so I'm just going to draw over those. Yay! Is it raining? It is raining! Yay! Hopefully that'll help to cool it down at least a little bit. Doesn't usually though. Another dud. I'm glad I'm finally able to filter out all the duds out of this new pack of pins. Oh, I've got ink all over my fingers now because it's rubbing off from the fabric a bit. right, another one done. Now we just have to do the lacing panel and then we are done draping this. So just a few more minutes, bear with me, and then we shall be done. Now this one, thankfully the grain line should be straight up and down. Yep, it is. Nice. Cut off all of this excess. There we go. Actually, before I finish doing that, I'm going to turn the iron back on. So I'm going to need that in a minute. So the very last step. Oop, that's another pin. All right, there we go. We are now officially fully draped. Look at that. We have a fully draped corset pattern. Yay! So now that that is all fully draped, a lot of these folds right here, what I like to do is I actually like to steam and press them down to make it so that it's just another edge that I can use as a much more accurate line for where each seam line needs to be. So I have drawn all the lines on here, but they're still a little bit rough, whereas if I press them down, it just gives me another extra edge that I can use as a reference. So that's why I turned the iron on. Ooh, that's very hot. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly, there's a lot of pins on here. Let's see how many I could just push a little bit further in. that's as far as that one goes. Alright, let's see if I can get as many pushed in as possible. And just, if I had a much smaller iron, this would be so much easier. But that's okay. We make do with what we've got. So hopefully the steam will help it to set in place nicely. I really do need one of those little hand things. Good morning. It's afternoon for me. I think it is 3:15 in the afternoon for me. There we go. All right, and we do the same thing. Oh, thank you. I'm hardly a professor, but thank you. So let's get these done. Trying to not scratch my iron, but we're getting there. Okay. There we go. And so I think I'm going to be investing in one of those much smaller irons next time. And those little ones. That's what I'm going to invest in next. Because this thing is heavy. Whew. Okay. All right. There we go. And that is the very last step of draping a corset or a regular pattern on here. So I just gotta bring that back over where it was. There we go. So this is Mina. I think that's what I called her. So it started off as this, just a simple sketch, just of the front of it. And we figured it out from there. So this is just getting the pattern itself. There we go. We have enough space here in the back for a lace-up section, so for the laces to go across, and we'll have a little modesty panel. But there we go. And we have, look at all this bust support here. Look at that. Good amount of bust support. There we go. So this is Procreate. This is on my iPad, so this is just Procreate. Yeah, I just use, ooh. So I just use Procreate on here. There we go. And got my Apple Pencil. Ta-da! So that's just what I use. Nice and simple. So you really can't see it because it's like too dark and everything's white, so it's too white I should say. There we go. So yeah, that's how it started off. And this is the pattern. Except I think I added, yeah, I added an extra panel here in between the front and the side here. But yeah, I think this is going to be a lot better. It's a lot better for the shaping underneath the bust here. So it comes up a little bit, but it still sort of goes over instead of sort of going in between the boat and in between the bust. So yeah, and then we've got a nice supportive side right here. So there we go. Ta-da! So for anybody who would like to watch the recording of this, I will be putting it up onto YouTube straight after this. And you can watch the other two as well that I've already got up there. I did the Adeline, which is the cupped overbust, and the May, I think, which was the May was the long line underbust. So yeah, there we go. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed. You like what I'm doing. Yes, I have a YouTube channel. It's linked in my bio. It's under the same name as what I've got here, which is Dressmakers Design Studio. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you guys hanging around. Yeah, have a lovely day.